All right, I've got 7 o'clock, so let's get this show on the road. Welcome to the Town of Long Beach Town Council meeting for November 9th of 2020. Let's all do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I think the town council has all received the minutes from the October 12th meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve those?
I make a motion, Bob.
Do I hear a second? All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, how about the minutes from the executive session from October 15th? Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion, Bob.
Hear a second?
I'll second it also.
All in favor, say aye.
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 How about the special meeting of October 15th? Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion.
I'll
I hear a
second it
second.
if no one else wants to.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. And last but not least, the town council special meeting of October 29th. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion.
I'll second it again.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Opening remarks, I have none. Police department report, chief. Chief, are you out there? I think I admitted you to the meeting.
I see him and he's not, he's muted.
Yes.
So chief, you need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Gotcha, okay.
I'm having difficulties tonight, so. Okay, October 2020, total dispatch calls, no, that's not right. 274, miles driven was 3,674, 79 and a half hours, 12 hours overtime, 10 of that was for training, 2 of them for department business. Part-time officers worked 19 hours, and reserves worked 38 and a half. Traffic stops in Long Beach, there was 28, 5 citations, 7 written warnings, 8 verbal warnings. 1 vehicle impound. 4 suspicious people and 4 suspicious vehicles were checked. 8 courtesy services, 7 ordinance violations were checked. 14 alarms for the month. On the report side, there was 2 theft reports, 1 found property, which was a handgun, 1 unattended death investigation, 1 warrant arrest, and 1 arrest for operating intoxicated. Dune Beach and Michiana Shores have both asked me to bring up that the contract expires the end of January 2021. So they wanted to get something from you guys to go ahead with the contract, or what your thoughts are on doing that.
So last time, at least with the fire department, I think we had meetings with them to decide on that. I guess that's probably how it ought to proceed again. Does anybody feel differently about that?
I don't.
So what we probably ought to do is set up a meeting between representatives from Michiana Shores and Duneland, and we can bring that contract and go over it and hopefully come to an agreement. Typically, we'll have to have just 2 council members on that at that meeting. Do I hear anybody who'd like to volunteer to be at that meeting?
Kind of just let the police commission.
Yeah, that'd probably be fine. You want to have the police commission do that? I think that's good. If anybody have an objection to that?
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so chief, let's have the police commission handle it.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Okay. Okay, police commission report. I don't believe, and I didn't do attendance. I think everybody's here but Nick. Nick usually handles the police commission report. John, are you ready for that?
Yeah, I can do that. We had a real brief meeting on Wednesday last week. Bob was on vacation. Jim Schooley and I got together and talked just about a couple of things. The only thing that's really of any consequence as far as, well, there are a couple of things going on, but in terms of something that the town council has to decide on or at least talk about, and Bob, maybe you can lend a little something to this as this goes on, but the county 911 center is in the process of refining the communication link with fire departments, and our town has apparently some hardware that's not being used under the current radio communication systems in the county that they want to begin using again. So it's dormant equipment as far as we're concerned, I think, and they would like permission from the town to be able to use that antenna equipment. Jim thought there may have been some up on the cell tower and possibly some on the water tower. So we have to just give our permission for the county, meaning the 911 center, to tie on to that equipment. If we didn't already, Jim thought maybe
Go ahead, John.
No, Bob, Jim thought we already had given permission years ago, but I don't know.
Right, there's currently, before we went to the 800 system, our base radio is up there, your base radio for the fire department's up there. We have a point-to-point radio. We have a LaPorte County Sheriff TAC receiver, Michigan City PD TAC receiver, EMS TAC receiver, and I think there might be one or two other ones in there. All the antennas and all the power and emergency generator and everything are already there. So I don't understand the workings of how the system works, but when we get pages, it's with you and with Michiana, we don't get any voice. This is supposed to take care of and enhance and boost that signal so our pagers will work once again.
Do you think we need to give additional permission, Bob, or do you think they already have permission to use our whatever gear we've got up there?
I think whatever gear is still sitting there, so I don't know why we would have to give them more permissions.
Okay, yeah, that's fine with me. I mean, I can't imagine anybody on the town. Maybe let's do this. Is there anybody that would object to the county 911 center using some of our logistics equipment, radio equipment?
I don't.
Then I think that, Mayor, you okay with that?
Good, thank you.
All right, so that way I don't even think we need a motion. That's the general feeling. And if there's any issues, I'll get back to you.
Okay. Anything else from the police commission?
That was essentially it.
Okay. Volunteer fire department, John.
Let me pull up the numbers. Okie dokie. Month of October, we had 8 fire calls, 2 fires, hazardous condition call, 5 false alarms. Average turnout on fire calls was 9 for the year. That's an accumulative number. Medical calls for October, we had 9, 4 sick persons, an unconscious victim, and 4 lift assists. And that average turnout again for the whole year is 6. And the only thing I would call your attention to is with the number of false alarms on the fire calls, we get tremendous more turnout on actual calls because when the false alarm call comes out, sometimes people don't come out quite as readily. But at any rate, response time, this is an average for the year, about 5 minutes for fire and about 4 minutes for medical calls. In terms of, this is going to be kind of a dual fire commission, fire department report. We purchased a new gas monitor, 4 gas monitor. We make quite a bit of use of that these days with carbon monoxide calls, particularly with the number of people that are now up full time that were typically gone in the winter months as furnaces started up and those sorts of things. So that gas monitor, it's a fairly expensive piece of equipment. We now have 2, and we use it for carbon monoxide calls and also for natural gas leaks and that sort of thing. We had to get a couple things relative to the station. We got a new overhead door motor on the Rescue 3 door. again, that station's showing its age, and this is the third overhead door motor, so that all 3 doors have now been replaced, all 3 motors at least. We got our new gear washer up and running. I think I spoke about that last time. One big significant training aspect, last week we had NIPSCO came in for their training that they do for natural gas, and it was very informative, very instructive about how to react to gas leaks and that sort of thing. And a couple-hour training. The guy that came out was a former East Chicago fireman, very, very knowledgeable trainer. I don't know if I don't think Nick's on tonight, but kudos to the NIPSCO crew for that training opportunity for us. That's all I have, Bob.
Okay. Street Department, Tom Dolph?
Tom is on vacation, and I told him I would kind of give the report more or less. The paving is generally complete. There are a couple of structures. They were trying to get it all done today. They got the rain garden done at the park at Juneway and Oriole. There will be some plantings that'll have to happen in the spring because of the lateness of the year, but they will mulch that and get that weather tight. But they're basically complete with all the paving. They've got a little bit of cleanup work. They were doing backfill behind some of the concrete curbs and those sorts of things. There were a couple of concrete rings around some drainage structures, but they did a good job. They pretty much wrapped it up in a short time frame. They stayed out here and got it done, which kudos to Reith Riley and Tom and the boys for keeping with them. The leaf pickup continues, as everybody knows. We're shooting for December 4th as the final pickup date, so people need to be reminded about that. And also that, please keep sticks and large things and rocks out of the piles, because that damages that equipment. People may not realize that the town owns that equipment, so whenever it's damaged, Tom's got to run down there and do whatever repairs are required, and it can be significant. And then the problem is the downtime then, because we're paying those crews by the hour, and if we're busy fixing equipment, they can't be picking up leaves. So please restrict your sticks and things like that in your leaf piles. Luckily, we had a really dry couple of weeks, and it seems like it's moving along well. One other thing I wanted to talk about, well, a couple things. NIPSCO will be in town. This is an informational item. NIPSCO will be in town shortly. They're doing 2 things. They will be out in the Cove doing some underground conduit replacement. That'll go on basically just in the Cove area. Shouldn't disrupt traffic or anything. There'll probably be some rigs on.
They're already there. They're already there working, yeah.
Yeah. And then the other operation that'll start is the street light replacement. I don't think they're going to replace the mast. I think it's just the light fixtures, but they will be running around doing that. And they were asked by Tom to start on the west and work toward the east, so they didn't get in the way of the paving. But the paving went so well because of the nice warm weather that we shouldn't be in each other's way with that. We have made some progress on our Stop 17 drainage work. We had Haas Engineering come up with some preliminary budget estimates and some engineering. We've met with Mr. Risby and talked at great length with him about his property and what he needs to do with some of his side of it. We may wind up having to have an easement agreement with him in order to accomplish what we need to, which is to correct that drainage pipe that goes out to the lake. Just by way of a little commercial here, we're going to talk a little later about the the stormwater board effort that we're in the process of trying to put forward. And this is one of those projects that'll turn into a significant 6-figure operation. And that's the part of the motivation for trying to get the stormwater board up and running, so that we can get some dollars collected for some of the stormwater work that needs to happen around town. That's all I've got.
Okay, and that was Street Commission?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Park Board, John Coker.
Okay, I'll do the community center report first. Anita's going to take the park board report for the community center. They haven't had an actual formal meeting, but they have drained the cooling towers, have been drained and switched to the building from cooling to heat. That's good because winter's on its way. And the center still recommends that the building remain closed through 2020. So that's where we are with that. And Anita's going to give us an update on the park board.
As far as the community center, I just want to reinforce that community center committee has done an outstanding job with that building. At one time, there was talk of closing that building down, and we've made it a real resource for the community. Unfortunately, COVID's kind of kind of taken a bite out of that, but hopefully if this vaccine works out, we're going to be able to open that back up again. Hopefully within the next few months, we'll see. But I want to reinforce the fact that the community center committee needs to be making all the decisions regarding that building in terms of maintenance. I think the only people who can overrule the community center committee is the town council functioning as a council. And if people want things done there, they need to take them to Joe Jogman and that committee. Joe is in charge of that committee. And so I just want to reinforce that and make sure everybody agrees with that. I understand there were some decisions about painting the building. I think, again, those decisions need to come, or painting some rooms, those decisions need to come from the community center committee because they frankly know the building better than any of us. Anybody disagree with that?
Nope.
Good. Okay. All right. Now for the park board. Anita.
Hi, it's Anita Remages from the Park Board. Zach Neff is also on, and he's going to be sharing some photos on the screen. So I wanted to let you know that while I give the report. The masonry repair to the brick entrance pillar at stop 18 has been completed. It's now wired for electric. The light will or has been installed on top to match the other pillars in town. We are only doing one pillar for now. We'll be waiting to do the second pillar, mostly because of expense, because of time, because of possible sewer work. Number two, our November-December meeting has been combined into one, and it will happen on November 30th. Number three, the park board will be taking out the toters and corrals in the coming couple of weeks. And that is as we continue to implement the town council's decision to remove the toters at the beach stops. Number 4, 5, and 6, hopefully Zach will be putting some photos up. Here they come. The dune grass has been planted at stop 18. It looks fabulous. It's going to take a full year to mature. So what we're doing is we're leaving up the do not disturb signs. So they will likely remain in place for a good year while that dune grass gets set in there. The next thing is the metal stairs. So we had metal stair projects at both stop 26 and stop 30. Stop 26 has been completed, looks fabulous, amazing. Thank you to all the residents. It was delayed a little bit because of supply issues and because of weather, but there it is. It looks it's great, and hopefully it'll hold up well. And stop 30 was also completed. So there's stop 30. We're just thrilled with the work that was done. And if Zach has anything else to say, he can add it. Otherwise, that's our report.
Nope, that's it. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Anita.
Well, those stairs are pretty heavy grade and hopefully they'll stand up to any waves Lake Michigan can dish out.
Yeah, they're pretty significant, Bob, and they don't go down into the sand very deep at this point. So we're concerned with, as water is you dig down 2 or 3 feet in the sand or into the water, and they were concerned about burying those into the sand and having water freeze and pushing the stairs up or to the side. So if we do lose beach in the future, they can just easily tack onto the bottom. But those are very heavy duty stairs.
And what does a set of stairs like that cost?
The two stops combined was $35,000 with the paint job included. So I'm an engineer, do a lot of work like this all over the world, and that's a pretty good price for the amount of metal work that was done on both those stops. So guys did a nice job.
Any other questions for the park board? Otherwise, water board, Mary Lou?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, the water board met on Monday, October 26th. We talked about, because we're supposed to have a public hearing date about the hydrant rental charge, and that will come from the town council instead. That's what Carl Sender told us. We have a couple of overdue collections, people that had final bills and moved, but we have a great person in the water department and we're on it along with Chris Willoughby. And actually, as of today, one's already paid without us having to do anything. We were notified by Horizon Bank, we have ACH fees, which means not that your bank pays your water fee, but it comes out of like your checking or savings account. And they want to charge us $50 per unit, a flat fee per month, which seems pretty reasonable. It helps because if not, we get about 1,100 checks in a month. Let's see, the guys are still busy with locating and they're painting the fire hydrants. And our next meeting is Monday, November 23rd at 9:00.
Okay, and so we're up to date on those water bills that had gone uncollected then.
Right. Actually, we had one person, and we don't really like to say their names, but they were like $5,000 behind, and believe it or not, they paid. So we were so excited.
Okay, and Bill, it's not really in the water department, but I know we had an issue with some people who were getting their garbage picked up and they weren't being charged for it. Was that right?
Yes, and we need to talk about that. 17 years of garbage pickup and leaf pickup. It goes to probably $3,000 if we take $200 a year times 17. The price was a little under, when I started, the price was probably $190 a year for garbage pickup, and I'm not sure what we charge for leaf pickup. But I don't know what the council's feeling on that is, but is $2,000 a reasonable number to request? Is $2,000 too little?
How much would they have paid had they been charged right along?
Yeah, probably about $3,000. I mean, nobody, this is different than what we're talking about for the water department because we muffed what happened was they hooked into Michigan City's water system and Michigan City sewer system, even though they are not, they're not in the cove. And I guess some of the people had a choice to get on and they chose to, and this was well before all of us were involved. And we just found out this probably last year that they somehow or other were getting Monday pickup and leaf pickup, and nobody has stepped up. They really would be qualified to get a Wednesday pickup as Mary Lou and those who are out on the cove get, but which would also include the leaf. I guess the leaf pickup would still be part of the charge, but at this stage, we haven't come up with a number. And I can negotiate it and present it at the December meeting, or you can give some ideas right now.
Bob, just so you know, there's a couple people on the water department, and Lynn has been doing like an analysis, and we're kind of waiting to see where we go with the couple people with that. But we had some people that they weren't being charged the base rate, and there's two actually that we're looking at. So we're waiting to see what the council thinks about this before we move on it with the water department. Because in the past, when Laurel and I came on the water department in January, there were a couple people we noticed that were what I'm going to call the hacienda complex, and they weren't paying what we thought. So I wrote them a letter. Actually, it was pretty expensive, and said, you haven't been paying this, and this is what you owe. And they both paid up. But now these were ones that Lynn found, and Lynn is the person that works in the water department. And so we're waiting to see what you think. If you want us to along with Bill, to make a proposal, what's fair, because we don't want to do ours separate and then the town do something different.
Okay.
Are these Long Beach residents?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
So what they are, John, just so you know, because now that I'm not an expert, but if you live on Moore Road, you're still in Long Beach, but sometimes you have Michigan City water, sewage, and there's just like 2 there. Then at the entrance of Long Beach on the east side, there's a couple houses there that have Michigan City sewage, Michigan City refuse, and then we just charge them leaf pickup. Then there's people in the cove right as you first come in, and she only gets the leaf charge. So you got to be like, in the beginning when I started there in January looking, I'm like, well, why does this person not have to pay that? I'm paying it. And so you had to look at it because that's what they were. So there's probably, and I'm looking to Bill to say this, and I wish Laura was on, there's probably about 5 people that are that you have to look at their accounts and say, oh, because we have one at like Moore Road and the entrance into Long Beach. And that person there is Michigan City, but they pay they pay for leaf pickup. But other than that, they're totally Michigan City. So we have to segregate them out. And it is confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So
in some cases,
What we're talking about here is just strictly 17 years of garbage and leaf. And so it has nothing to do with water because there are no water.
But ours, on the 2 cases we have, it's water. And so but we want to be consistent and fair as to what the town's going to do. So that's what we're kind of looking to the council. So if you would like Bill and I to look at what they would have paid over whatever number of years, and then now we could do that.
And so they never got a bill.
I think to maintain consistency, you're going to have to know what the magnitude is on each situation, and then you can make a decision. Right now, it sounds like you were offering some sort of a split. I think when Bill and I talked about this a couple of weeks back or a month ago or so, we talked about, okay, if it was a no-fault situation where the owner didn't know about it, that's one thing. On the other hand, if they didn't have any leaf or garbage pickup invoices for 17 years, they must have known something was up. So I think to be fair to the town, the rest of the townsfolk, I would say, in the case of the $3,000 bill, we went to $2,000 and offered to maybe spread it out over a couple of years if they were having a problem coming up with the money. I think that would be a fair way to look at yours too, Mary Lou, but I mean, I don't know what the magnitudes are. I don't know if it's worth it to go into some big hairy agreement with somebody over a couple $100, but when it's multiple thousands, I'd say we'd want to capture 2/3 of it or something and then offer them the opportunity to spread it out over a couple of years. That'd be my thoughts.
I think 2/3 sounds good. We could be consistent across the board then.
Yeah. So you know what? Laurel and I.
Let's work together, and Mary Lou and Laurel and I will work together, and we'll come with the system. But what everybody is agreeing is each situation is some different because it's different than people who are trying to skate under the radar. We muffed, but on the other hand, as John Wall says, everybody else has been paying.
Yeah. Actually, to be honest with you, when I first came in the water department, there were a couple, I'm going to use the word skaters. And when I sent them a letter and detailed it out, what had happened, they paid up. I mean, and it was substantial, but they had been getting free everything for 8 months, both of them. And they did call and I gave them the numbers and they're like, oh, okay, well, I didn't realize that. And so anyway, they were nice about it. We didn't have to do a payment plan with them. They were very nice.
I think if you're dealing with pick a number, 12-month or 2-year situation, I think you had to get it all. But if you're dealing with one of these multi-year, like Bill says, way before any of our times, that's when I think you want to do the 2/3 thing. But I'd make a motion that anybody that's just had a follow-up for the last 24 months, they ought to be able to make themselves square. That's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we haven't, you know what? We've got Lynn in there and now she's got her arms around it and actually it's really moving along very well. So I'm not concerned about that, but Bill and Laurel and I will work on that and we'll give you a proposal. And we haven't told the people that because, first of all, we couldn't find one of them, but we found them this week. So, because people don't update their information, they don't live here year round, but we're working on it.
Chris Willoughby, is there anything legal we should be thinking about in this situation?
Not right now. I'll follow up with Bill and Mary Lou after they get the numbers together, and then we can make sure that there isn't anything out there.
Thanks. Oh, Chris, thank you. And then did you get Lynn's email today that one person paid up?
I did, yeah, good news.
Yep, that is good news.
Okay. Budget and finance, Bill.
Yeah, budget and finance, I think you've seen that we made our first payment on the Reese Riley project. I'm understanding that a fairly significant one will nip into our 2.6 million because there's probably going to be another bill that's going to be 600,000-700,000 because the project was $1 million. And we're getting some bills from Haas Engineering for that, but I think we're still in good shape. The one thing that I want to talk about was that we did get 5 bids. I think you all saw them. We got 5 bids for the general obligation bonds, and the low bid was Horizon Investments, which is a piece of the Horizon Bank, and they came up with a bid of 1.44% for the $1 million bond that we're going to have, and so we just right now they have asked for a payee. So U.S. Bank is going to be the company to whom we're going to pay. If you recall, when we were paying for the town hall, we were paying Harbor Investment for the bond that we took out. And basically, what's going to happen is we are going to be charged on our real estate taxes a fifth piece besides the CCD, Park, MVH, and general fund. There will also be this general obligation bond that we will have for 5 years. And so I'm working with Carl Sender, and we can talk about that again at the Budget and Finance Committee meeting on Wednesday. The one other thing that I want to talk to the council about right now, or make up as part of the report, because I told John Wall at the beginning of the project of the Reese Riley project, we will need to have a budget hearing sometime in the next month. We have to actually provide approval because we didn't budget for the $797,000 we were getting from INDOT, that CCMG fund. So that, and then some of the other monies that we need to match on that, we're going to have to just dip into. So we've got funds to do that, but state law says before the end of the year we have to tell the community that we're spending their money, and it's in excess. It's still money that we have in the various funds, but that money is going to have to be. We're going to have that money identified, and we're going to have a hearing to announce that. I don't think it's going to be difficult because we're not borrowing any money to pay these bills, but we're going to have to have a hearing. And I'll send out information on that. What I've got to do is put together, because I haven't gotten any bills from Gary up either, and we've got the Stop 24 project. I'm not sure where that is, but that's another $240,000, and we have money, and we've got $60,000 that is coming from the park department, and so we have funds identified for that, but we're going to have to pay that money ahead of time. I really don't think we set up a progress payment, so I think we probably will get all of our $100,000 from the coastal grants people in 2021. So, and anyway, but that's kind of where we are. We're in good shape, but we've got some things that we have to talk about.
Bill, do you need to have that hearing before you pay that first progress payment for Reef?
No. You know, it has nothing to do with the payments that we make. It's just what we have to do is, you know, I mean, that money that we spent, yes, it is money out of there, but all the State Board of Accounts cares about is that by the end of the year, we identify the fact that money is being spent. And, you know, we can't budget for money that we don't know we're getting. So it's not as if we muffed, but, so no, I can make a second payment. I can make all those payments. And we did this before too, John. So it's not, and we didn't meet any reaction that, but we can't go throughout the year without doing it because we can't close the year without identifying monies that we are taking out of various funds. So no, we just have to do it. We'd have to do it before the end of the year. And obviously, you know, even at the December meeting, we could probably accomplish it, but I have to put all those numbers together.
Good. Okay. Yeah, if we don't have to have an extra meeting, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay. Human Resources, Bill?
Nothing. We are not. We have talked about having a salary study for the rest of the town, but I think the focus of Human Resources still seems to be on our police chief hire.
Well, when are we going to get that agreement worked out with for that survey? I thought that was coming in and we were going to have something.
Well, at the last meeting, Bob LeMay said he had not received that bid, and I don't know whether you have received it or not.
Yeah, I see Mike Konizak's on here. Mike, did we get a bid from the company that does those surveys?
We have not we've communicated with them. We have not gotten the bid yet. I'm trying to zero in on how many jobs we actually have to provide for them. The problem is we only have about 8 job descriptions, which Mary Lou has forwarded on to me. We have probably another 6 or 7 job descriptions that we got to have. They can't do a survey, but but they can give us a quote. I don't have the quote yet, but I'll get with them this week and get nail that down.
Mike, just so you know, I'm working with the water department, and then I'm working with Tom Dolph. So I since you and I have talked, I've got one that's preliminary for Tom that he found. I'm not sure how old it is, but it looks pretty accurate and up to date. And then we're kind of working on one for the assistant water superintendent. And then I'll have to look because we have one for the person that works with Tom. Mm-hmm. And I think we have one for the deputy clerk. And we
don't have one for the deputy clerk. We
don't? Oh, I thought we did. Let me look at those.
Yeah. Okay. And then we need them for the police. Obviously, we need them for the police sergeant and the police officers.
Okay. I don't have any of those, but I have like the part-time secretary.
Yep.
I don't think I have one for the park program for the
right. Correct.
The person that runs the park program, whatever we call them. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So should we try to schedule a November meeting for the Human Resources group to get some of this organized? Or
yeah, that'd be terrific.
Okay. All right. We'll work on it tomorrow. And then get us go.
Thank you.
Hey, building commission. We had two special building commission meetings. One on 10/23. At the 10/23 meeting, we approved some shoreline protection structures for 2952 Lakeshore Drive, 3006 Lakeshore Drive, and 2060 Lakeshore Drive. although the 2061, that's subject to them being able to embed any steps into their seawall, because we don't allow steps coming off of seawalls. And those were all protection structures that, had no problem with our shoreline protection ordinance. We had a requested stop 23, but we didn't have any drawings yet. And then we also had permit applications for the residents around stop 29. We set up a meeting for that and had that special meeting on November the 6th. I understand social media has been a buzz with people feeling that the town council is planning on giving away property to the homeowners at stop 29. That is not the case. Basically, Mr. Osborne and Mr. Vortman presented plans to build revetments behind where they were originally going to build those seawalls. Remember, those seawalls have been the source of litigation that's been going on for about 5 years now. The plan is to put a revetment well behind there where the seawalls were going to be, and above the newly determined natural ordinary high water mark. The Army Corps of Engineers determined that the natural ordinary water mark all across Long Beach is 584 feet. It's above 584 feet. So we had a number of suggestions that we made to them and approved their plans at the building commission meeting, provided that they change their plans to meet those suggestions. And I think they're agreeable with that. At least that's my understanding. We'll find out. Also, we need a letter from the engineers who designed the project saying that it's the least detrimental to our shoreline of any plan that they could come up with. So once we have those permits are approved. However, that doesn't allow them to get down to the beach. They need to be able to get down to the beach with their equipment to install these things. Their only options are to use town property. Two options are at stop 29, and the town owns a lot just to the west of the Osborne property. The west of the Osborne property is the one that looks like the most reasonable place to do that. The plan would be for them to access through that property to the west of the Osbornes. There's just some scrub trees that would be in the way. In return for that, us granting them a temporary easement to their property, they've offered to share in the costs of revetment to protect stop 29, which is eroding away, and that property also to the west of the Osbornes. Also, they've offered to build new steps at stop 29 because our steps at stop 29 have been taken by the lake. So the plan is to have a meeting with those owners to come up with some particulars as to how that can be done, and that meeting is going to be scheduled in the near future. Once we have a plan, then we will hopefully take their proposal back to the town council. We'll probably have to schedule a special meeting, probably for one day next week, to discuss this. So this whole issue is going to be discussed at a special meeting, and anybody who wants to, comment on that can comment on that then, or if they want to comment on it tonight during the public comment section. But that's what's going on at stop 29, and I'd be happy to answer any questions probably later, although if town council members have any questions for me, I'd certainly be happy to answer those.
I'd make one additional comment, Bob, and that is, number one, that we're not going to lose any beach at stop 29. The situation that occurred that's actually down there now is no worse than it's been over the 40-some years that 50. I hate to think of how many years I've been down there, but at stop 29, we never had any beach landward of that seawall that's down there now that was put in probably in the 40s. So all this work is a major improvement in terms of the town's interests. The new proposed walls, or not walls rather, are no longer proposed walls. They're actually revetments, which is the preferred method. and they are well behind what they originally proposed years ago when all the controversy happened. So in my mind, it's a general improvement in what they're asking us to give them permission to do in terms of the construction. And then they're also, again, like you mentioned, they're going to help contribute to the towns. They already have with the engineering and so the other expenses. So I think it's a win-win for the town, and we just have to decide how the agreement is written such that they protect or put back together everything that they disturb in terms of their access, their temporary access. So I think it's a win-win for the town. And again, we'd be more than happy to answer questions, but we still are in negotiations with some of the finer points.
And this
And
will
Bob,
hopefully, go ahead.
In your meeting that you had Friday, aren't we also looking out for 28? Because we see some problems there. I think that Larry talked about with some trees that are coming down in the erosion. So we would fix that at the same time.
Yes, that's the property to the west of the Osbornes.
Okay. I wasn't sure how far it went over.
Yeah, and this
There
will
are, Mayor, there are a couple of lots west. The town owns, obviously, Stop 29. And because of the horse trading that went on years ago, we have it's wider at the base down at that steel sheet piling wall and narrower at the top than a standard bus stop lot. And then we have actually 2 lots west of Osborne's that we're talking about, having the protection run back in and protect those lots as well, which would be part of their temporary access.
Okay.
And this will hopefully allow us to put to bed some litigation that's been going on for probably at least 3-4 years involving our special BZA. So that's another plus for the town. Any other questions or comments from the council? BZA report. BZA met on 10/13. Brian and Daniel Honer had a petition, was set for public hearing, which will take place on November the 10th. That's tomorrow night. Bill and Karen Loftus of 2600 Hermione Trail. That's also been set for public hearing. And then Keith and Victoria Shander of 2814 Lindale Trail. Their preliminary hearing was continued to the November 10th meeting. And then Tom and Eileen Ruby at 2003 Idlewood, public hearing was open and the board approved their request for variance. And that was it. Advisory Plan Commission met on 10/19 of 20, discussed proposed amendments to the Shoreline Protection Ordinance. Those discussions are ongoing. Also, we discussed maximum building size. Some people are concerned that houses in Long Beach, some of them have become sort of mega mansions, and they're not sure that necessarily matches the character of the community. And so we're going to discuss whether we want to implement a maximum building size. Also, we're working on under new business, working on a solar ordinance, and then another ordinance, and that's for solar power. And then the other one is regarding the right of way and what you're allowed to do in the town's right of way. And that was the Advisory Plan Commission. Bill, the building permit and revenue report.
The building permit revenue report, in the month of October 2020, we had 23 permits totaling $638,635, town revenue of $7,614. 4 electric permits issued in October, total of $503 with town revenue of $50.30. 4 street cut permits with $400 revenue. The October legal expenses were $8,731.25, $2,210 to Austrian Kuiper Jositis, and $6,521.25 to Brazier, Nelson, and Janes. Could I entertain a motion to approve the reports and the claims?
So moved. Do I hear a second?
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unfinished business. The town's executive order update. I guess my my suggestion is we shouldn't be making any changes to our present executive order. I think if anything, the pandemic's worse than it was before. I certainly don't think any lessening of our restrictions is warranted at this time. Does anybody feel differently?
It's getting worse, that's all I know.
All right, so I'll make a motion to leave that unchanged. Do I hear a second?
I
Second.
second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Lakeshore Drive sewer update. We had signed a agreement with the Michigan City Sanitary. Unfortunately, we found out that Michigan City Sanitary's version that they signed was different than ours. We've got that rectified now, and the new agreement is going to say that once the sewers are put in, residents on the north side of Lakeshore Drive are going to have to hook up immediately. Residents on the south side will hook up when they want to.
Dr. Lemay?
Yes, okay, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, we were able to take advantage of snafu, which I think just happened because of the electronic nature. So the sanitary district ultimately just approved a different version. But one thing that we clarified, because I know that became a question before, and even though we were comfortable with regard to who has authority, there's now specific language in the agreement that says that the sanitary district will not require anybody to hook in unless requested by the town. So that issue is clarified, and then the northern boundary, which at any time the town can request as the authority. So what the district and the town, between the attorneys for each, have thought was best, rather to get over the confusion, is we're just going to have you sign a restated version. So it's going to be exactly what you signed before, with the more specific language of those on the lake side being required, as well as those who have failed septic systems at pump and haul, and that the district cannot require anybody to hook up unless the town requests so in writing.
Anybody have any issues with that?
Bob, I just have a question. So let's say that I lived on the hillside. Would I still have to pay the monthly fee?
Yes.
No, you only have to pay the capital charges, but not the user fee.
Okay, that's what I meant. I meant the capital charges. Okay,
Yeah, you still have to pay the capital charges.
okay, I get it then.
Yeah, because your property has increased in value because of your availability to use the sewer, whether
Okay,
you hook up or not.
okay.
Do we need a motion about that?
Yes.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we, that you guys allow me to sign that agreement.
I
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Step 24 project update. We don't have Nick here, but I see they're working down there. Does anybody know any more than that?
Yeah, they're making progress. They had an issue trying to get the plate designed for the actual walkway. They had to have some conversation with the engineer, and then obviously materials are always an issue these days with the COVID. So they're making progress. They've got most of the grading done. We're pleased to see that the lake has somewhat receded. There's some sand down there along the front of the steel sheet piling and the rock revetment in front of 24. So that's helped protecting the site. They're going to try to get the plantings in too, but there may be some weather sensitivity related to that, and that may have to wait till spring. But so they're making progress. We did determine that we have a slight water issue up there that nobody was aware of. It was covered up by dune grass, but that half moon area that we wanted to include in the project, we were going to have Reith Riley pave that. And we decided not to do that because it'll aggravate the water situation, number one. And then number two, some of the alternate work that we pulled from the project included cleaning up the bank that's immediately lakeward of that half moon parking area. And it's just amazing. I mean, it looks like the town must have put every street cut for the last 10 years or 15, 20 years over the bank. So there's just a tremendous amount of broken up concrete and all kinds of crazy things that were tipped over the bank right there. So what we'll have to do eventually is clean that up. So we did not also, the second reason for not paving it was we're going to have to get in there with equipment and try to reach over the side and pull that all out of there. We don't want to include that in the Gary Up's project right now because we're on that limited budget. But at some point when we want to dress up, they're not at cross purposes. They're pretty much mutually exclusive projects. But if we really want to dial that area up and get some dune grass planted, we're going to have to remove some of that material and cover it up. Right now, we can't just cover it up because it's too close to the new work. But, at some point we can pull some of it out of there and put some fill down there and plant some dune grass, and it'll be beautiful. That won't interrupt the new plantings on the new project, but to finish the whole area up, we'll have to do a little more work down there.
Okay. Reeve Riley meeting schedule?
I can speak to that. They're going to be essentially substantially complete here within the next day or two. So as Bill said, he's going to have to be prepared for another significant sized invoice coming in. But from my perspective, they've done a good job. Schedule-wise, they've had people out here almost every day. I have not heard, I'm sure there were a few people that had their noses out of joint, but I have not heard any significant complaints unless you have at the town hall, Deanna and Bill.
Nope, I have not. Although stop 16, I noticed still has a hole in the ground, so. Right.
Yeah, there are three. I rode the whole project this morning, and there are at least three more structures that need to be adjusted. What they do is they dig around with it's kind of a cute little machine. It's called Mr. Manhole, and it's like a giant core drill, and they drill that out and raise the structure and then pour concrete back in. It's a much safer and better method of securing the manholes and getting the drainage right, so you don't have that crazy bump that everybody experiences when they don't.
Yeah, I like the concrete that I've seen that they've done, so that's nice. Yeah.
And they give Haas credit where it's due. Their designs include some pretty, in some, I won't say exotic, that's too strong, but the rain garden down at Juneway and Oriole is the latest technology in terms of stormwater. Again, you're really not supposed to be puking all your stormwater into the lake, and we're another reason that we want to get that stormwater fee put together and get the stormwater board created is that we need to do this in a lot of areas in town so we can straighten up some of our stormwater issues. But yeah, kudos to Reeve, kudos to Haas, and we're doing well.
Okay. Stormwater utility. We just received a draft ordinance from Carl Sender about that. So I think we need to look at that. We also received some sample draft ordinance from some surrounding communities. So we can take a look at that. Hopefully we can put that together into a form of an ordinance and bring that back hopefully to the next meeting.
Yeah, I think Carl wanted to, finish the bond, but I think he gave it to some of the people who were involved in that street and you and me. And so yeah, I think that's something. I just looked at it today, but we need to get that done. But I think we could do that by December.
Yep.
Can we will that need to be a council workshop, or can we just do that with our little committee, Bill?
Well, the one thing that I guess the council has to decide is who are the three people who are going to serve on the stormwater. I mean, the state ordinance requires it to be a 3-person board, so we have to select 3 people, either existing or not. Yeah, but.
Does it have to be 3 or at least 3?
3 exactly. Yeah, not
3 exactly.
Yeah.
But my suggestion, I think we're allowed to use members of the town council for that.
Yeah.
For the members.
That is correct.
Board.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be, rather than trying to find some other interested individuals, I think it's a pretty important thing. We're going to be collecting some significant dollars. I would like to see, and again, we're not icing that tonight, but I'd like to see it be town council members. I think that's simpler and it keeps the responsibility where it lies in my book.
Yeah, I'd say let's go with the 3 best looking ones. So John, that allows you and I to skin. But we can talk about
the one with the most hair. Get it? The one with the most
there you
hair.
go. There you go. Yeah.
You have to further clarify that now, Coker. There's hair on there.
Well, on your head,
Oh, okay.
not on your.
Well, it's hair.
Okay. So hopefully for next month.
Yeah.
Proposed golf cart ordinance. Are we prepared to discuss that tonight? Everybody get a look at it?
Yep.
Any comments on it?
My one comment, I'm not comfortable with the discounted rate for the country club members. I think if we have a registration fee for the golf carts, I think everybody should pony up for the same rate.
Yeah, I kind of wondered why, because they're going to be using the roads just as much as people who, maybe more than the people who don't belong to the country club, and whether they're paying the country club their trail fees really shouldn't be the town's concern. So I think that would be a change that would be reasonable.
What was I don't know that the ordinance actually had a dollar figure in there for the annual registration, did it? I know we talked about a range.
Yeah, it said that country club members only pay $25, whereas everybody else paid $100. And I guess, to me, $100's cheap. That's what I'm thinking.
I thought Grand Beach was like 300. I don't know if
I believe it is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are, but
I don't have a golf cart, so it doesn't matter.
yeah, I don't either. I mean, I think there's going to be a certain amount of enforcement issues. I think there are safety issues. I know we've had, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we've had some medical calls over injuries with golf carts with underage people driving them like hooligans.
Right.
I came through town for a fire call about 3 months ago. Well, this was pre-COVID, so it must have been early spring. I came through, this was about 2 a.m, and there were 3 or 4 drunken hooligans surfing on the top of a golf cart coming down the hill at Roslyn. So I think there's going to be issues that are going to cost us some money based on the way this will unfold. I don't want to pick on anybody with golf carts, but I foresee some costs and hard costs that we're going to have to deal with. So I would suggest something on the order of $250. And I'm open to suggestion, but I think 100 is pretty nominal.
Okay.
John, do you know what Chesterton pays? Because that you can have a golf cart in Chesterton. You want me to look into that?
Well, I know the county has it. Michiana Shores now has it. The county has it. I'm not sure about, I know Michigan City does not allow them.
I don't think they do.
And I noticed in the second whereas, it says the town council's been informed and advised that presently there are no town regulations regarding usage or operation of golf carts. I believe there are regulations, and bottom line is you can go to and from the country club as long as you have your golf clubs. So we probably should strike that second whereas. And the other thing I saw in here, and again, issue of safety, I guess my thought is that I don't think there ought to be any second chance for any person who's underage driving a golf cart. I've seen 10 and 12-year-old kids driving golf carts. Frankly, my feeling would be if the police catch them, that golf cart needs to be impounded. But that other people may have a different opinion of that, but that's sort of my thought. I just see that as a big safety issue. Comments?
I agree with the safety issue.
Does impounding a golf cart create a big issue for the town? I mean, we shouldn't do things that are going to make things difficult for the town.
I was going to ask you that. When you say impound, they take it from them?
Well, they would, but I guess the question is if you don't take it, you say, okay, you're suspended. A lot of people drive around on suspended driver's licenses, so I don't know what you do.
Sure.
Well, first of all, I think we were going to have when Bob and I talked about this, when he presented it at the police commission, the proposal included a large enough sticker on the side of a golf cart that the policeman could identify that number. Like if you were A65 or however many golf carts we wind up licensing, that you'd have a large enough sticker that cart that was in violation would be identifiable even just passing by. So I think as long as we have something like that, I'm not so sure about the severity of the penalties. I haven't given that as much thought as you have, Bob, but I mean, I've seen some 12-year-olds driving them very responsibly, but I think you have to follow the state code, which I think that requires them to be.
Have to be a licensed driver.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe that's what you make the fine. A $500 fine would really impress a 12-year-old, probably.
Well, they probably wouldn't have to pay it. Their parents would.
Well, it would probably impress their parents, too.
You're right.
Chris, does that sound reasonable?
I think you can have the graduated fines, but they certainly, as we've discussed in other areas, need to be significant enough that they matter.
Okay. So maybe let's get together maybe and talk about that, Chris, and we'll come back with something for next month. We've got till spring, I think, right?
And if anybody has some changes, yeah, they can certainly send them and we can note them and put it in a red line version so that everybody could see them.
Sounds good. Tree ordinance. We all looked at that.
Mhm.
All right.
Bob, is there anybody from, and I know it's been on the agenda for multiple months, they may have given up, but is there anybody from that Land Conservation Committee on the call tonight?
If you are, speak up.
Good evening.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, it's Dr. Uhas. I'm AJ. Hi, Bob. I'm AJ in the corner. Hi, John. Hi, Mary Lou. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening.
Okay. So any comments on what we've seen?
I'm trying to understand the overall scope. Essentially, most of what I see, other than nuisance violations, revolves around our own trees, meaning trees on our property. So we're not really regulating private trees other than if they are causing a safety hazard or some sort of a nuisance thing, meaning diseased, or is that the general drift, Dr. Uhas?
Yes, Mr. Wall. Yeah, our intent was not to interfere with private property at all. What we wanted to do was make sure that Long Beach protected our public trees that along the roads and in other places, so that if any of them come down, there would be a forum for the people that want to take the tree down and then come and present their reason for taking down public trees. Some of these trees are irreplaceable, as we know. Very, very old oaks are not going to be grown by us in our 10 lifetimes. So all we wanted to do was to make sure that we have a mechanism for the community to go to a body, an official body, and present their point of view on why a tree may need to come down if it belongs to the people. And that would also apply if the city wants to take down a tree, they would come to a tree board, or a utility wants to take down a tree or branches. And then the other thing we were going to do as a kind of a backup safety net is have if the issue was the health of the tree, then we would have on standby an arborist, a certified arborist, and come and tell us, is this tree really sick that it needs to come down? Because really, for us lay people without that kind of training, I look at a tree and it looks great, and then the core is rotten or eaten by ants. On the other hand, some trees look like, they've got a big hole on the trunk, and there they are year after year doing fine. They are amazing, but they are becoming increasingly rarer, even though it's hard to think about that here in Long Beach, because we're blessed with a lot of trees. But we want to make sure that the ones we have are protected from thoughtless removal. Also damage. People might want to build something adjacent to an easement or next to a road, but it would involve maybe damage to the public trees. We'd want to know about that in advance so that we don't find out afterward that, gee, the tree died, or we have to take it down. So basically, it's about public land, public trees, and what people do on their property, private property, is their right, and we don't want to interfere with that. The other thing that the tree board wanted to do is be involved in some replacement of trees, and that would mean also looking into best practices for getting a variety of trees, focusing on native trees, not just, pretty trees that are, everybody's got cherry blossoms down the road and it's uniform. We wanted to get a variety for their health and to focus on indigenous trees to Indiana. So that's pretty much the scope of it. and it would go through the Long Beach, the little tiny Long Beach Land Conservation Subcommittee, but we volunteered to be involved in that. So you already have a subgroup within that subcommittee volunteering to look out for the trees. So I don't know, does that answer your question, Mr. Wall?
More or less, a couple of quick issues relating to what you've described. I understand now. I think I did when I read it, but
Yeah.
One of my only issues, I think, is this is a philosophical sort of a statement, I guess. It seems to me that you're requiring a permit for taking any pruning activity or tree removal on town property, and I think we just have to make sure that. I mean, there's an awful lot of musts and shall in here, and in particular, I get a little nervous when we make a statement like, all persons receiving a permit, and I'm in section 15, all persons receiving a permit under this ordinance shall abide by, and then it proceeds to cite 3 or 4 specifications and standards there. That makes me slightly nervous because you're incorporating, I don't know if those are good or bad, to be honest with you. So I don't want to hamstring our town. Now that I understand we're talking basically about town trees, meaning on our property, the people that generally orchestrate removals are the street guys. When they see a safety issue, for instance, they had some limbs falling on Chastleton and they decided to take some trees down. And I know there was one fairly close to your house as well, Dr. Juhas, that there was some neighbor controversies relative to that particular tree. But there are times when I don't know that I want our street guys hamstrung by, some sort of Bible full of policy and then having to wait for you guys on a permit. So I was struggling to find a clause in here that allows for an emergency type of situation. Maybe you can point that out for me.
I didn't come prepared to discuss this. I just came to eavesdrop. And here's what I'm proposing. We've worked on this from the Land Conservation Subcommittee for a couple of years. We've had many meetings. We've revised it, but we're not attorneys. And what my hope tonight was that you all would review it. I know you've got a lot on your plate, and you don't want this to keep boomeranging back. But if you have any suggestions, and the reason I say it that way is we haven't been able to meet because of COVID since about February. So we're kind of like, we stop, we start, we stop, we start. So what I'm going to ask the council is this. As you've reviewed it and prepare to discuss it tonight, make any suggestions. We meet once a month. And in fact, we talked specifically about having a meeting in December, knowing the town council was going to take it up. Allow us a chance to listen to your concerns and then bring it to our subcommittee for revisions. We want to hear from the town attorney also. So what this is kind of a intermediary step to see what you guys think, and then we can go back and talk amongst ourselves in the Land Conservation Subcommittee, if that's fair.
I'm okay with that. I guess one thing I would maybe think about is on the third line or third page, where you talk about pruning of trees on private property that are endangering the health, that are obstructing pedestrians or vehicular traffic or interfering with visibility. And it talks about after notification. I think we maybe need to be a little more specific and say notification by a certified mail 1 week prior to work being done. Just because calling the guy the day before and then cutting down his tree the next day probably isn't adequate notification.
Right.
It might keep us out of trouble with that.
Right.
And that's the only thing that I saw that had me concerned. Anybody else with specific concerns?
One other thing I noticed in that section 16, I'm not sure if it was just a language slip up, but down at the bottom of that 16, right above 17, it talks, that last sentence, unintentional damage, including but limited to blah, 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 blah. The person responsible for the damage shall indemnify the town of Long Beach for replacement or reparation costs. I'm not sure if that's the right term there. Maybe Chris can take a look at that while we try to make some adjustments, but
sure.
generally indemnify in my mind means you're kind of insuring against the loss, whereas I'm thinking what you're trying to say there is that somebody's going to be responsible for those.
Yeah, they would be responsible for the cost of the remedy. But like I said, we haven't really had anybody on the town council weigh in on this or the attorney, and we're really looking forward to you guys making suggestions to improve it. And especially the emergency thing, I think that's an excellent point. And we may have to refine it a little bit, especially if we're talking about limbs that are about to, crack and endanger people underneath it, or a tree that suddenly really looks like it's cracking and is going to be a hazard. We might want to say that that's an exception. What we kind of want to do is make sure that, it's not just the streets department, utilities also. I heard from one of our citizens that they had to rewire somebody's backyard, and instead of doing it one way underground, and again, I wasn't involved, I don't know what I heard was that the utility took down about six old oaks. And, that's the kind of thing, if we can at least help out or make suggestions or really look at it and say, oh, there's no other way to do it. So that's kind of what we're hoping for. But yeah, common sense would tell us if we've got a branch that's, or if the streets department identifies trees, let us know about it. We can go out, look at it. And, taking down limbs is one thing. It's the whole tree we are concerned about. And that's all. That's our goal.
Cool. Any other comments? Okay.
So, Dr. LeMake, to button this up, then may I say, we'll bring it to the December Long Beach Land Conservation Subcommittee. We will then reply to the town council, and would it be back on your agenda then in December?
Yeah,
or?
Yeah, it will be under old business. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good. Okay.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Wall. I appreciate it.
Thanks for all your work.
Yeah.
Okay, and then under new business, the police chief at our last meeting, or one of the last meetings, we decided to hire Mark Swistick as the Long Beach police chief. With that in mind, we've put together a offer letter to send to Mark. I've sent that letter out to everybody on the town council. I guess just to kind of summarize, it's a salaried position, base wage of $76,000 a year. And he gets vacation commensurate with his experience, which is, of course, experience in Michigan City. There's more details about insurance and jury duty and leaves of absence and all those things. Probably don't need to go into those details.
It's called boilerplate.
Yeah, boilerplate. So if I have, I guess I'll entertain a motion from the council to send this out to Mr. Swistick. Then hopefully we can get it back from him. I think he, according to this letter, he needs to get it back to us no later than Monday, November 16th, which should give him plenty of time. Does that sound acceptable? I'll entertain a motion to do that.
So moved, John.
I hear a second? I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Bill, I'm going to drop this letter off at your office tomorrow, and if maybe we can have Deanna put this on a letterhead from Long Beach, and we can email it to Mark. That sound like reasonable, and then probably I suppose we should send it to.
That's fine. Yeah. The one thing that that there's a little, I know we have picked a start date, and maybe that doesn't have to be done. We say January, but that's a little loose. And
we're going to be talking with the chief about exactly when that'll.
Yeah, I think we need to figure out what we're going. I mean, Mark's got a job, so it's not as if has to have this job start immediately. But yeah.
And there needs to be a transition period too. And Mark's on top of that. I've had conversations with him.
Okay.
Sounds good.
NIPSCO. I'm not familiar with what that is. What's that
I think
agenda?
that was just the lights I think we were talking about. I think,
Oh, okay, and so we're getting those lights that we approved
yeah.
quite a few months back, right?
Yep.
And I think they're the ones that allow you to maintain the dark skies, which is kind of nice.
Oh,
Okay. Front end loader loan.
Yeah,
John,
we discussed that. I sent out an email. We got 3 bids and the low bid was 2.13% from Deere Credit, and they're the ones that would be easiest to work with, I believe, too. I've already talked to them and asked them. I have not received it yet, but I've asked them to send me a contract for a 5-year loan. It would be, like $19,000 and change 5 times. And what I'd like to do is at least get approval. We got one bid for 4.25, one for 2.35, and one for 2.13. And for all intents and purposes, that's 2.13 is a very solid bid that a lot of companies told me, that banks told me they couldn't come close. So what I'd like to do is get an approval for then it would be signed by Bob, and maybe it would have to be attested by me. But I'd like the council to approve that because we've kind of agreed.
so is that $19,000 a year, Bill, for 5 years?
What?
Is it $19,000 a year for 5 years?
Yeah, it's nine. I mean, it's nine change. Yeah,
$100,000 loan.
yes, it's 19,000 one-time payment. What we prefer to do is pay just like we were paying for the lease. We paid once a year for the lease.
Okay.
And, I mean,
Right, Mayor, it's like 80-something thousand plus some interest.
That's what I wanted to know.
What it is that,
yeah.
that loan, that loader is in absolute wonderful condition. Tom's very pleased with it. It was a great lease and he's very happy with it. It's got all kinds of life left in it. So it's good.
Yeah, we right now we have it, we set it up, like you do for a leased car. We set it up for 500 hours of usage every year, and we're slightly under 500 hours. So we have actually free maintenance from Westside Tractor. So we have free maintenance for another couple of years on that. I mean, there would be some cost, I know, besides, but it's definitely turning it back in and having to start a new lease and then not owning it. I mean, I think we should have many years beyond the 5 years for that piece of equipment. And I think the reason that we got such a good rate from Deere was because they recognized not only the quality of their equipment, but the fact that we'd maintained it and it was in very good shape because we had such low usage. But anyway, I'd like to have a motion, unless there's a disagreement, that we go ahead and do that. If the price changes or something else, we'll have to come back and do it again. But right now, I'm expecting it to come in just as the sales manager had quoted me.
I'll move we accept that bid. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
One quick comment, Bob, while we're on the subject of capital equipment. Bill and I, a couple of us met with the insurance guy, I don't know, a month or so ago. He does that typically annually, take a look at our needs, and we make some adjustments on inventory for the list of things that he insures for us. Each of those it's a little bit like high dollar jewelry at your house. You have to itemize everything. So Bill's got a great list now from the insurance company about what we have. We have to massage it just a little bit with some of the squad car information, but essentially now we know each piece of equipment and its serial number and age and that sort of thing. So what we plan to do, Bill and I have been working on this a little bit. We're going to try to get a handle on what our capital needs will be looking forward. For instance, when the town garage burned up, we burned up all of our plow equipment. We had, I don't know how long ago that was, Bill, 15 years ago or something. We had to buy all new plows, and then, they all broke down at the same time. We had to re-equip the fleet again. So what we're going to try to do is look forward and say, just like the loader, what do we need 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and how do we be a little more intelligent about planning for our capital needs so we don't get surprised with having to buy three new plows in 2 years or something.
Good point, John.
Good deal. Any other comments anybody on the council wants to talk about? Agenda items that aren't there?
I have a comment. I had a request from one of our residents that with our open burning ordinance that we really aren't, I'd like to maybe work with John Wall or him designate somebody from the fire department, because we have people that have those burning pits that don't cover them. And so then there was an issue whether, especially when it was dry, that they might do something else. And so actually this resident, which really super, did the homework and sent me some other ordinance from other places, but I think we maybe need to look at that. And so I thought maybe if I could talk to John and maybe either him and I or somebody from the fire department take a look at that and make a proposal. Because we do have people that have open burning pits and they put all kinds of stuff in it that really isn't like for having fun. They're just burning stuff. So
I agree, Mara, and it's an issue every year. I've been down at the beach when people are, guys down at the lakefront don't want to haul their stuff up to the top. So they put all their leaves and yard waste and everything in their little fire pit and burn it for like 6 hours at a crack. No, I agree. It's tough to keep track of. I think I'm pretty sure we'd have to reread them, but I think between the county no burning, open burning ordinance, the county has one in place. And I know I think we have one as well that pretty much.
But ours isn't that comprehensive, but I've got, actually this person was super. They sent me a bunch of examples and I thought, well, okay, I'll ask. And so if you and I could talk about it, I'll send you those. And I think, winter's almost here, but I think when spring comes up, what they were most concerned with, they live in a wooded area near Bill, and the people come out and burn all this stuff. The leaves are around there, it's dry, and they did call the police. They're like, well, it's in an open burning pit, but I really think we need to have those kind that have a cover.
I think we want to limit. I don't think we want to let people burn anything other than if they're having a campfire for a marshmallow roast on a Thursday night or something. That's one thing. But this propensity to burn stuff during the week, or particularly on windy days, we've had some very close calls. And you look around now today with all those dry leaf piles, it wouldn't take much to burn up a whole block around here. So I agree with you. We can get together, Mayor.
I will. I'll send you what I have, and maybe we could take a look at it, because I think now that we're moving into winter, it should be a little safer. But yeah, and the police need some teeth to go after these people too.
My home state of California is suffering greatly, so
I know you agree, Bill. Yeah.
I will tell you this. You call us out, we'll put out whatever's burning. I'll tell you that right now.
I know you will.
We've had some people we've had some arguments with, but we are not shy about putting fires out.
Okay, public comments.
One last thing before you go
to public comment.
Go ahead.
One last thing before you go to pop. I just want to make the town council members aware, and I think Chris may be aware, but I'll send him the dope on this as well. There's actually a webinar on stormwater board formation and state, not ordinances, but what do they call it? State laws.
Statutes.
Yeah, relative to stormwater board formations. It's coming up on 11/17. That's November 17th at 1 p.m. It's actually one of those ones that remember the AIM things we went to, John and Mary Lou. It's that.
Oh, yeah.
I've been to a couple of their webinars so far. Some of them, they've been pretty informative. There's usually a few, ads and things in the beginning, but I would say this one would be appropriate for us as we look at trying to form this board. So I'm going to attend on the 17th of November at 1 o'clock our time. And you need to get with Bill on the credentials, or Bob has some as well, because I think it's $25 or something. But if you have the town credentials, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Zoom, Mayor. Zoom.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Anything else?
I think this is not going to be controversial. We have a controversial election. We have some people who want to wear masks or are comfortable with masks, and some people don't. We have some people who like sewers, and we have some people who don't. However, in less than 60 days, we will turn to 2021. And I don't know if anybody's paying attention, but this town was formed in 1921. And I think at some point in time, we need to be talking to the citizens if they want to form a committee or if we want to do something that would be sponsored by the town of Long Beach. We have a 100-year centennial coming up, and I think we should at least be cognizant of the fact. I don't think we get any argument that this one shouldn't cause any controversy, but I'd like to see us do something significant. When I moved here in 1995, I didn't think I'd make it to 2021, and I still got.
I thought you were one of the only ones who was around when they formed the town, Bill.
I think I may have been, yeah. But so at this stage, here I am. I think I'm going to make it another 60 days. I'm going to try. So in any event, so let's see if we could get maybe some volunteers would send emails to anybody on the council or to me, and we could get some kind of a committee going. Okay?
Great idea.
Good deal. Cool.
Hey, you know what? Why don't we put it on the agenda so that we don't forget? If nothing.
No, that's good. Okay. All right.
Yeah, then at least the rest we'll pick up. If the council can pick up the ball if we don't find a group.
Okay.
Great idea.
Okay, public comments now. Barb Moran Goodrich.
Yes. Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Good. I am calling in response to some issues we've had. We have our home at 2300 Lakeshore Drive. And over the years, we have had, 2017 and October of 2018, and again this year, we have had some situations with regard to alleged or potential encroachment of our home's seawall on the public property. I, in 2017, dealt with the attorney for Long Beach, Ethan, and then 2018 was Mr. Willoughby to discuss this. It's been a part of the seawall that we have is one that's been there for over 70 years. The records as to why it was approved in the 1949-50 period are no longer in existence, but we do have the surveys showing that our seawall has been there since October 6, 1950. I provided this documentation to Mr. Willoughby, and we had started to do repairs last year on our home because, as you know, homes that are on the lakeside need repair every so often due to weather. And so we started doing repairs, and we were given permits for those repairs. And then all of a sudden, this year, we started doing repairs again. We were doing only replace and repair on our home. And we had permits that were given to us. And then Lou decided to red tag us a few weeks ago, stating that he wanted to have a resolution to the encroachment issue. And we stated that we were not doing anything on the home to encroach on anything that is possibly an issue. We were just repairing and replacing. For instance, we're repairing the walls and removing the drive-it and putting siding up. We are replacing the balconies because they were worn and had 20 years of exposure. We've talked with Larry Wall about it. He did not have any issue because it was a repair and replace. Lou did not have any issue in the beginning when we were given the permits. And for some reason, 2 weeks into the project, he decided that he would red tag us. He told us to attend this meeting to have a resolution. He also told us that he sent an email to the town council about this issue. And I have not, I did communicate with Mr. Willoughby. The last communication I had with Mr. Willoughby was on October 30th regarding this. And I was told that there would be some type of resolution, maybe a licensing issue, be resolving this supposed 70-year encroachment, so that we can continue forward with the repairs in our home. I think Mr. LeMay, you knew my father. It was the Pink House. It's always been known as the Pink House. My dad passed away on December 25th, 2019, and we are trying to make sure everything is maintained in the home. My brother Bob is planning on taking the house over because it's been a part of our family for over 20 years. And we just want to be able to continue with repairs. Right now, we are stuck with one wall having siding and the rest of it being pink drive-it. And our balconies we took down because they were in need of serious repair. And we want to just put exactly what we had there up. We are not trying to do anything else. So I'm trying to understand what we need to do to be able to move forward. I had, like I said, I had reached out the last time to Mr. Willoughby, was on October 30th. He was going to talk to you about this to try to have a resolution so it doesn't come up every 2 years.
And, it'd probably be most appropriate to bring this to the building commission meeting on Friday. They meet at 1 o'clock. It's a Zoom meeting just like this.
Okay.
And Mr. Mellon will be there, as will Mr. Wall and the rest of the building commission. So that's probably the most appropriate place to start. And then they can hopefully inform the council, if the council needs to be involved, in some kind of a licensing agreement like you talk about. I know there's a permit application in for the repairs for the coastal protection structures next to your house at stop 23. And so that's, that'll be part of the big picture to look at also. I don't think anybody's going to demand you tear down your seawall.
I don't think it's possible, actually. And then also Lou said that our seawall is what is preventing Lakeshore Drive from actually going into the water.
Well,
Our seawall,
anybody with, yeah.
Our seawall was built in the 1940s.
Yeah.
It is 36 feet from the top all the way down. The first top 12 feet is solid cement.
Yeah,
After
nobody's going to ask you to take that down. And yes, you're right. Anybody with a seawall down there is protecting Lakeshore Drive. But yeah, why don't you attend that building commission meeting? I'll be at that meeting also on Friday at 1 o'clock. And then hopefully we can come to some resolution, okay?
And Dr. LeMay, I just want to reiterate what Mrs. Moran Goodrich has indicated here. This did kind of rear its head a few years ago and then kind of resolved. So, as I talked to her, and you and I can talk a little bit more about that before that upcoming meeting, which I knew was on the table to try to resolve that. But she certainly has been proactive in trying to get a resolution. And, it probably is primed to potentially put whatever that is in writing and get something recorded. So I just wanted to, echo her sentiment that she really has tried to comply and abided by that stop work order and is certainly going to get a resolution.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to you more about that.
Thank you, Mr. Willoughby. And, we've been a part of the community. My father owned the car museum there. We were always huge sponsors of all of the fireworks shows and being a part of the community for over 20 years. And we want to continue to be a part of the community. I actually have my own home at Stop 15. So, we would like to just make sure we have this resolved so that we can continue to do the repair and maintenance on the home.
Good. Okay.
Okay.
Abby Neary.
Hi, Abby Neary, 2019 Lakeshore Drive. This will probably be the first time you guys have ever heard me say anything positive about the sewers, but thank you for adjusting the language in the ordinance that you're signing with Michigan City. And then one other comment on the tree board. I think this is a great initiative by the town. We have an easement here behind our houses at Stop 20, and we've had over the several neighbors and I have experienced people cutting down trees on the easement and throwing the debris onto our properties. So this will just be something that, we can talk to the tree board about when it gets established, because several of us neighbors have experienced it as an issue. So thank you. That's all.
Great. Anybody else with any public comments?
Just thank you, Ms. Neary. This Dr. Uhas. I just wanted to say thank you. That's exactly what we're trying to, handle or preempt. So thank you, ma'am. I'll mute out again.
Any council comments? If not, claims approval, Bill?
Claims approval, check number 17542 through 17617, totaling $306,567.52. Salaries for October 2020 were $89,017.93.
I'll make a motion to approve. Do I hear a second? I see a second. That's Mary Lou.
Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Goodbye.
Night, everybody.
Good night.